Welcome to the Primitive Camping and Bushcraft Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Speir. So here, we're going to talk about gear, grit, and the kind of stories you only get around a fire. It's all about learning, adapting, and keeping your faith strong. So whether you're a seasoned outdoorsman or just looking to unplug and reconnect, you're in the right place. So pull up a chair by the fire and let's get into it. All right, welcome back to the podcast today. Today I'm going to kick it off. This episode was inspired by a simple but solid question within the Primitive Camping and Bushcraft group on Facebook. And I posed the question of what would you like to hear on this podcast? Chris Chappell replied and said, hey, what about a repair kit? What kind of repair kit do you carry in the field? And it got me to thinking, his question asked, do you use duct tape? Do you use zip ties? Do you use sewing kits or tie wire? And I was like, I do carry some duct tape. And a lot of the survivalists and stuff like that you see these days carry duct tape on their lighter with a fishing hook or a sail needle or some kind of repair needle or something to that effect. And, so we're going to get that kicked off today and, go ahead, swing by Amazon, pick up a copy of the Primitive Camping and Bushcraft book. And they had a snafu there for a little while. It was like $18 and now it's back down to $14. So, I don't know if that's in time for the 4th of July holiday or whatever, but go ahead and pick it up while it's on sale because obviously it's fixing to go right back up. And swing over to Facebook and join the Primitive Camping and Bushcraft group on Facebook. And so let's get right into it. Now, let's kick this off with a basic truth. If you spend enough time in the woods, something is going to break. It could be your pack strap. It could be a grommet tearing off of your tarp. It might be your stove falling apart. And, just before you start to put your coffee on, that's typically how things work. But, when that happens, the last thing you want is to have to run around and head for home because you couldn't fix it. And that's why you always carry some kind of a kit, something with you that can actually repair what you need in the woods. Now, a grommet on the tarp is a non-issue, and that is easily repaired. And you could do that with an acorn, a rock, a piece of dirt, or something to that effect. Wherever your grommet was, right near it or right above it, go ahead and on one side of your tarp, put in a rock or acorn, a piece of dirt, a clump of dirt or wadded up leaves, something, or a stick. I've even used sticks. Put something in there and then wrap some cordage around the other side and cinch it down real tight. And it will grab hold of it, and there you go. Voila, you fixed your grommet. And I have a bed sheet that I waterproofed 3 years ago now. I don't know if you ever heard of him, but Nighthawk in Light is his name on on YouTube. And he does all kinds of science experiments and stuff like that. It's got millions of followers, real big dude, real big following. And I watched him and I saw this video and I was like, hey, I'm going to try that. And I filmed it and I posted it. I did an experiment to see if what he did to make that sheet waterproof was basically viable. Was it something that would actually work for me? And I did it. And lo and behold, I'm telling you right now, I still use that sheet to this very day. And it really, really is waterproof. And at the time, after you let it dry and you let it do its thing, and you could actually transport water in it. I did a pillowcase in it, and you could fill that pillowcase up with water, and it becomes a waterproof dry bag. I mean, you could actually make a dry storage bag out of a a bed sheet or a pillowcase and this method that Nighthawk and Light used. Now, using the acorns on there is a real simple way of fixing a grommet problem on your tarp if it breaks. But let's talk about some other things. What would you bring with you to, what is something that you could easily bring with you that doesn't have any much weight that you can use to fix clothing, that you could use to fix your leather? You've seen people use sail needles for straps. Is a larger needle, and you're able to sew, and you can use the strands inside paracord in the sail needle and use that to actually repair heavy duty stuff like straps on a backpack, like tarps, like leather, leather straps, stuff like that, to that effect. Now this, a good needle set, you can go right down to Walmart. You can go into the sewing section and they have a needle kit, and it has everything that you need that you could actually use a needle for sutures and all the way up to sail needles that you can repair larger things with. And that right there is easily placed into your first aid kit, and you can bring it with you. Now, being a medic in the military, I have experience with needle sewing people up and sewing arms up and putting sutures in and stuff like that. So, know what you're doing if you need to do something. I'm not condoning anybody doing that unless you are trained in that method or know what you're doing. But now, with that being said, there's another repair item that you can use that is, that can be used to sew up wounds as well, and that's super glue. We're not specifically talking about medical kits or anything like that, but super glue is another item that has multi-uses, and you can bring with you inside your first aid kit, and you can use it for multiple things when you get out into the woods. If stuff's going to break, stuff like that, then you don't have to depend just on like sewing stuff. You can actually use a glue. So that's just a couple of things. Now, the big question about all this is not if, it's going to be when. When you get out into the woods, stuff is going to break. It doesn't matter. So one item that a lot of people have is duct tape. And I mentioned this at the opener, that duct tape is something that people carry with them. Now, I have seen where people would take their big lighter and they will wrap duct tape, not duct, D-U-C-K, it's D-U-C-T, duct tape, around their big lighter. And then inside that big lighter, and with the tape, they'll put like a fishing fly or fishing hooks or a needle or something in there, and they know it's there. And so that lighter becomes even more important. But yes, that duct tape has multi-functions in the woods. You can use it as a fire extender. You can use it as a candle, a tinder to start a fire. And by a fire extender, I'm talking about something that actually extends the flame, something that makes it burn longer. And a duct tape will actually act as a fire wick or a candle and burn for a very, very relatively long time. Now, duct tape is a lifesaver. You can patch up tarps with it. You can seal some seams with it. You can reinforce different things with it. And you can even, I've actually used it to repair a pair of boots before, and that's no kidding. And it's just, duct tape is one of those miracle items that has, like, Mythbusters did an entire episode or several episodes based on duct tape. And they were on a deserted island and said, hey, these are all the things you could do with duct tape. And son, they did it. They made a canoe out of duct tape. I don't know who's going to have that much duct tape to make a canoe, but they did for the TV show, So we got the duct tape there, which you can use to repair all kinds of things. Duct tape is very versatile. It's very handy. You can actually make a cup out of it. You can make a drinking, something, a container that can hold liquids. You can make so much stuff out of duct tape. Duct tape can be used to actually help patch together wounds. Here we go back to the medical stuff again. You can actually use duct tape. If you can control the bleeding, duct tape will hold the wound together. Duct tape is actually used to, I had a dermatologist one time tell me for a wart, they said, just put a piece of duct tape on it and leave it alone. And eventually, after several weeks, the wart died and went away. Duct tape is an amazing thing. Now, here's another one that a lot of people probably don't use or utilize, and that's part of the question, was zip ties. How would you bring zip ties with you into the woods? Personally, no, I don't. But they can be used, and they have kits out there that have various sizes of zip ties, and I'm not one that's going to bring a bunch of zip ties with me out into the great outdoors, but I do think that zip ties could be useful. They're very light, they're very strong, they're extremely versatile, and you can reattach the molly gear and lash something to your pack, or, hold together a cracked container, or, something. They have all kinds of different things that these zip ties could be used for. They're very quick, they're reliable, and they're going to work. They're going to work. The only time I ever seen a zip tie fail is whenever it set out into the sun for a long time and it became very brittle. For some reason, all zip ties, I don't know why, but if they sit out in the sunlight, the UV will actually make the plastic brittle. If somebody knows why, leave a comment and let me know, because I don't understand the science behind that. But, there is tons of uses for zip ties. You could use it to fix all kinds of, I've used zip ties to replace zipper. So I had a zipper break on one of my bags, the flag part of the zipper, not the zipper that puts the two things together. But I had to use a zip tie as the zipper handle. And what I call it, the flag part. Crazy things in my mind. But anyway, the zipper, the zipper part, the handle part, I had to use a zip tie on. That was, zip ties can be very effective, and they're very handy. I keep a bunch of them in my truck, because you never know what you're going to need one for. Same thing with a roll of duct tape. I have a roll of duct tape in my truck. Thinking about it, my truck is basically a four-wheeled survival bag. It has everything in there I need. I got water filters in there. I got a bunch of MREs in there. My truck's ready to go if anything happens. And it's not intentional either. But, moving on from zip ties, we have tie wire. That would be one of the things that I would consider over the majority of everything else, besides a needle. Not necessarily just a tie wire, but a roll of floral wire. And I have harped on this ever since I've started this. Is floral wire is amazing. Even last week's episode where I talked about the smoking fish, I use floral wire to hang the fish up. Now, floral wire is a 22 gauge wire, and it's relatively small. It's it comes already green, so it's camouflaged. So if you want to use it to trap some squirrels or something to that effect, you can. And it has, and each roll is about 150 feet, and it's about $5 a roll. Now, this wire is extremely small and it's extremely helpful, and you can get it at like Hobby Lobby, or there is a version of this 22 gauge wire at Harbor Freight that you can get, but you're not going to get 150 feet of it. You're going to get I forget how many feet, but it's mechanics wire, and it's almost the same. It doesn't have a green coating to it. Now, floral wire is amazing stuff, and you can use that as your ties. You can use it like wire ties, and I have actually used floral wire with a sail needle to fix a broken on my backpack. I have a 35 liter backpack, and the end of it where the zipper stops came off, and the actual zipper would go all the way through. And so I had to sew that back together, and it is still holding it. And I have used it many a times, and it is still holding together the way with that wire. And so I will always, from here on out, use that wire on stuff like that, because it has so many applications. I mean, you can use it for so many different things, and it's not just for floral aspects or for, flowers and that such. But, another aspect would be sewing kits, and sewing kits are extremely versatile, and especially if you got like a heavy duty needle and you got like wax thread or something like dental floss in the sewing kit. Dental floss is essentially synthetic sinew. It is amazing stuff. You can make bowstrings out of dental floss. And I'm working on a video that I'm using dental floss as trot line to catch catfish, and I'm going to be doing that video here shortly, hopefully in the next month or so. Now, the rivers have been so flooded that it's kind of hard to do anything on the river film wise, but it's starting to go down. So the sewing kit would be great because it allows you to stitch your packs together. It allows you to stitch tarps together. You can sew up clothing. You can put on buttons, safety pins, sail needles, and all that stuff should be in your sewing kit. Now, if you followed me for any length of time, you would know that I carry bank line, and tarred and twisted bank line. Bank line can be unraveled, and you have 3 strands inside that, and then that could probably even be broken down smaller, and you have thread, and you can use it to sew up almost anything. Now, this nylon bank line is great. It's strong. It's great. You can cut you 5 feet off of there, and you can fix anything that you need to fix. And you can even make fishing string out of it while you got it. Now, one aspect of tools that you can bring with you in the woods would be like a multi-tool. I have the Leatherman P4, free P4 or whatever, and it is a great tool. It is an awesome tool. It has not let me down. It has the only thing I don't like about the Leatherman P4 is the file. Other than that, the rest of it is very functional, and it all works, and it does what it needs to do. And bear with me, I'm trying to think of what I'm trying to say, but the Leatherman, or the multi-tool, would allow you to drive the sail needle through thicker and harder to sew items. And so it would act as a needle driver like you would use if you were doing sutures. And you could probably use it to help do sutures as a driver. Now, spare buckles, clips, pack clips always break, but I've never carried extra of those. I haven't. And when I was brainstorming this, I was thinking of all the little items that you could throw together. And, I would not personally carry any extra clips or buckles for, backpacks. I haven't had stuff break to that extent, but that's not to say that it won't, but who knows? And it could, everything in the future, we could actually have a backpack break in the buckle or whatever. Now, I have stepped on a plastic clip on a backpack before and it cracked. But it was the waist strap and it didn't matter because I didn't really use that. But, moving right along, we got a new member of the preparedness stuff. I just did a video that I launched yesterday on survival gear. It's the Entropy Survival Go Bag. I mean, this thing's pretty cool. If you haven't seen that video, go over to Speir Outdoors and check it out. Or I think I posted it in the Primitive Camping and Bushcraft group on Facebook as well. But this bag was pretty cool. I mean, it has everything that you need to survive. It's geared towards a person that walked out into the woods that has never been practiced bushcraft or survival, or it's geared towards people that are you get out into hiking or national parks and stuff like that, and something happens and you can't get back, and that's what it's geared for. And I mean, it's got an emergency tube tent, it's got an emergency sleeping bag, it's got an emergency poncho, it's got fire starters in there, it's got multi-tools in there, it's got knives in there, it's got emergency drinking water, it's got emergency food rations, and it's got a compass. I mean, the only thing this thing don't have is a GPS and a map. It's got flashlights, it's got whistles, it's got other flashlights and strobe lights, it's got a flashlight that blinks SOS. I mean, this thing is extremely well thought out, and the guys over at Entropy Survival have really done a real good job with this pack. And it is a tool that if you have a loved one that is going hiking that is not real familiar, go ahead and get them one. If they're not real familiar with survival things, not necessarily survival things, but if they get off trail or they get lost or something like that, they have this. I mean, it weighs 6.75 pounds, right at 7 pounds. And it is an awesome addition to the survival backpack. I mean, this thing is great. And you could leave it in your car and have a go bag, just be prepared to go anywhere in the world. And whenever you get ready, you just grab that thing and head on out. Yeah, I really like that Entropy Survival backpack. I mean, that thing is great. I highly recommend it to a lot of folks, but, with all the stuff that we're talking about here is like gear for repair kits and stuff like that, a broken strap might leave you a little bit sore after a while for carrying stuff, but a broken spirit is far more dangerous. And Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verses 9 through 10 says that 2 are better than 1. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up. Now, think about that for a second. That's like everything that we've ever talked about on this podcast. That's called redundancy. That, that's not just about people. That's about preparation. That's about, like I said, redundancy. That's about being equipped before you fall. That's like packing your gear before you head out into the woods. So, your gear is going to fail you. It is going to fail you. Eventually, any gear that you have, I don't care how much you paid for it. I don't care what company you bought it from. I don't care if it was made in the United States or if it was made in China. That seems to be the great debate today. But eventually, it's going to fail you. Eventually, it's going to break. Eventually, it's going to tear down. And that's just part of being in the great outdoors. What you carry with you matters. That's the bottom line. What you carry with you really does matter. It really matters what kind of gear you have. It really matters the knowledge that you have to use the gear that you brought with you. If you brought a pouch of zip ties, if you brought a roll of duct tape, if you have a roll of floral wire, or you left all that at home and you're just using your willpower, that's what's keeping you going. That's what patches the tear. That resets that strap and that gets you through. So here's my challenge to you. Pull out your bag. Go over your bag this week. Check your repair kit. Look at what you have to repair. Now, some of you may have a dedicated repair kit in your gear. Some of you may not. And I'll be the first to tell you, I do not. I carry a needle. That's it. I carry a needle in my first aid kit. That's the, I guess I do. I got a first aid kit. I got a needle. I have some duct tape inside there. So I do essentially carry a small repair kit. But if you don't have one, build one. Put one in your first aid kit. Put a needle in there. Put some super glue in there. And that is essentially a small repair kit. If you have some paracord, the inner strands of the paracord, there you go. You can sew something up. Throw some dental floss in there. You can get a real small thing of dental floss and you got something to sew with. You can actually, if you didn't have the wax kind, you can use it to sew up wounds if you had to, But go through it, put one together and see what you got for this week. And let me know what your thoughts about the repair kit. Come on into the Primitive Camping and Bushcraft group and let me know. Give me your thoughts. Leave me a comment. Talk with the guys and the gals and all the people of the great outdoors and let us see what you think and tell us about it. What do you carry with you? What do you have with you? Don't wait until something breaks to wish you had something that you needed. Go through it now. And I just want to say thanks for joining me today. This was a real quick conversation. Chris, I appreciate you throwing this topic out there. And if anybody else has any other topics they want to talk about, let me know. And if you like this, go ahead and share it. Go ahead and leave a review and pick up a copy of the book, Primitive Camping and Bushcraft, at Amazon. Join the group, Primitive Camping and Bushcraft, on Facebook. And I'll see you next time. Remember, in all your ways, acknowledge Him. God bless you.
Thanks for sitting around the fire with me today. If this episode gave you something to think about, if it helped you feel a little bit more prepared, or it even stirred your faith a tiny bit, go ahead and share it with someone else who might need it as well. We don't go camping to run away from life. We come out here to slow down and recharge. So grab another log, throw it on the fire, and remember this: in all your ways, acknowledge Him, and He will direct your path. I'll see you next time. God bless you.